his own incompetence, right?
Or of some weird scenario we don't know
So
about.
you'd have to demonstrate God is capable of being incompetent in any scenario.
Did you hear what I just said after you asked me if I said something?
But that is a
I said the
possible route,
first
right?
scenario that I made, which was it could just be for some weird reason we don't know about. So could you just demonstrate me what weird reason it is, since incompetence doesn't seem like it is it. He's an
Okay, well,
all-knowing
I
God,
think
so let's say it's not incompetence. It would just be
so.
impossible.
God is all-knowing and all-powerful without having any restrictions on him. I say he, out of his own rational agency, decided to create a world where there are angels and where there are humans, and he also decided to give them free will, and out of his will again. And because of this, a logical consequence was that through this free will, you know, a desire was originated from Satan and as one of his creation, and this became a domino effect. This that's pretty simple.
Why didn't God intervene with that desire, though? That seems to be the
Again,
problem.
because God already, I'm telling you, in this scenario, God already chose to give them free will. So why would he go back
Okay,
on his
but
actions?
he could have given Lucifer the free will to choose between um the
He
position of
did.
power or or desire. No, he didn't.
No, he
That's
did.
Yes,
He
he
gave
read
him
did.
me
a
the
position of
passage then.
power. He was literally one of the greatest angels in rank.
Yeah, I know. It's just
So he was
he could
able
have talked
to
to him, like
remain
he
there
could
or
have
not.
taken him aside from I don't know his office or something, and he could have talked to him about what he's having, and he could have
Mm.
allowed Satan or Lucifer to stop this desire, and he could have given more love than it seems like he was doing because he didn't intervene that way. He could have
I
done
think
it,
that
but he
only
didn't. So
That
why?
would go against God's
I think
nature.
that only makes sense. I think that only makes sense in the case of like creatures who don't have knowledge. Angels would have had that knowledge. It would mean Satan would be acting on desire with knowledge. He has knowledge that this is
But
wrong.
God would have been able to explain it to him on how it would be better to go
Why
this
would God
route
have to
instead.
explain it to him
And
if
Lucifer
Satan already knows?
would have allowed that his mind to understand what God is saying. And because of that, he would have agreed with God. Because Lucifer is in a
No, there's
position
no
of power
evidence of
and has
that.
been around God for a while.
There's no
He
wait
should have
wait.
been able to trust him.
There's Satan already had knowledge, so there would be
Could you
absolutely
give me a
no.
passage of that at least?
Well, I mean, it would only make sense, right? Because Satan would
Oh,
have knowledge that of a greater rank, and that's why he would want to. I'd say because
then
he
he would
is
have been
in
able to trust God
because
because
he is in
God would have.
because he's in unfiltered communion with God and His grace and glory. It would make absolute sense for me to say Satan has full knowledge of what he is doing.
But do you understand my points? There would have
Well, I
been
think
a
what you're
better
saying is
scenario
why
where
wouldn't God
God
just pull him
talked
to
to
the side?
Satan, and because of
Why?
Satan's immense intelligence, he would have known to agreed with God and went with the path with him. Because then he would have created a race that he loved as much as
Mm.
God did. He would have created a better world
Intelligence is not
with
wisdom.
God.
Intelligence is not wisdom. An intelligent person can use their intellect for something wrong.
Yeah, but God could have stopped that from happening. It doesn't matter
Again,
how.
we know God could by violating their free will, but Satan
No,
already
no, it
generated that
doesn't.
desire. Again, remember,
God can't
sin
think of
had
a way to
already
not
entered.
violate.
The first sin has already occurred by the very thought of trying to go above God. So sin has already occurred just from that thought. Sin has already entered the chain.
And I'm saying that before sin had entered, God could have intervened with Lucifer and figured out a way without interfering with his free will, since he's an intelligent being far beyond what we can even comprehend. And he could have done that. Also, I'm just assuming that he's also wise too, because you made a point earlier that intelligence and wisdom aren't the same thing.
Yeah,
But
but you can't show that he's wise. I mean, his entire story shows he's not wise.
oh, okay. Then God would have just at least used his intelligence to figure out a way to save Lucifer from sin before sin was able to take over him. Otherwise, your
I
God
mean,
would not be intelligent or wise,
I
or no,
guess
powerful.
no. That's not showing that God is not powerful. That just shows God doesn't interfere with will.
I
Again,
didn't
like
say that. I said that he could have figured out a way to
Gibran,
yeah, if he has
intervene with
yeah,
him without
please,
you'd have
man.
to
stopping his
you
free
have to
will.
demonstrate that it is Is that Maximus?
I think
No.
it's
Yep.
yeah, it is.
It's the
It definitely is. Sorry, I'm gonna kick you. Um, I think like the burden proof is on you to demonstrate that there is a possibility for God to make for it to be logically possible for God to not change or violate Satan's free will while simultaneously um making a new outcome of Satan's actions and thoughts.
Well, now I just think that you're doubting the power that God has in the Bible
No,
by just let me speak here. By just this scenario, a person,
no,
I don't know, like a therapist could convince and has convinced people to stop doing drugs or to not kill themselves or
yeah,
to just think of a better life and get a better life. If therapists, which are already considered to just be imperfect by our logic because of sin, are able to convince people who are doing worser things or are doing things that that have a lot of sadness and stuff and could put them down the wrong path. If they're able to stop that, then I believe and these therapists are not doing any harm to their free will. Okay, they are able to stop that from happening, then I think God, with more intelligence, more power than that therapist, could have been able to do the same thing with Satan or Lucifer
hmm
and
yeah.
stop them from and stop sin from entering them. I do not believe that you can. I do not believe that you actually do think that sin is just inevitable for a free-minded person, because then I must doubt why God would create sin or the free will in the first place, because it only leads to suffering. If
Like
that's your points, but you must make the but
I
you
don't
must
want to get
answer the
stuck on the
first
analogy,
point.
but even that has a flaw, right? Like that only happens after the fact. Someone goes to the therapist after the fact that they have this thought. So that is the very fact that before this thing has occurred, that God is leaning him away to a different path, is by definition a violation of free will. Because without that interference, he would not have went that route.
So
That's
the
what I'm saying.
therapist
I don't
is
think it's
able
logically
to use
possible for
the
that to happen.
so a therapist can intervene with someone's free will.
Not necessarily because they're not doing this before the
Then
fact.
great. Then God doesn't intervene with someone's free will either, because a
No, I'm
therapist
saying
uses the
because
same
the,
tools
the therapist is never doing
as
it after the
God.
fact. They don't have knowledge of the future. A therapist is only with the now.
Okay.
So God,
So how
before the
that
fact
doesn't
of the
change
thought,
anything though.
before Satan had the thought of desiring to go above God, this would mean God is leaning him to a different path, which just means he violated his free will.
NAZ Muggin.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's by definition is. If you can say per se like path A, path A, Satan desires the thought arises that Satan desires to go above God. Path B, he does not, right? If Satan is over here before that path, and God is talking to him, knowing he'll go here, so he leans him here, that by definition is an interference. So I say it's logically impossible for there to be a change in passage
But the free
without
will itself
interference.
isn't destroyed. The entirety of their free will
Still, but
and
I
the
argue
ability to
that
make
he
a
doesn't
choice
interfere.
isn't destroyed.
Still, I
And
argue he
because
doesn't
of him
interfere though.
intervening, it would have been better for Satan. And God would have done
Doesn't
him
matter.
good, not bad.
I would argue God doesn't want to interfere with a person like that to
Then
change
he
their
only
path
will then he will
beforehand,
only get
the way
bad
you're
that
saying.
way. Do you
Like with
think God
Satan,
only do you think God wants bad from people?
no, but I'd say God, out of his free will,
Then
would
I do not
prefer.
think that your idea there is even justified under a shred
So
of logic.
why would Satan be given free will if he's
Exactly.
not even going to be able to originate choices of his own? And if he's
I'm sorry,
about to,
repeat
he
that.
gets prevented. Then that is not true free will. That if whenever he is about to generate a true desire, that it is prevented. That is not free will.
Please repeat that.
You're saying God could prevent a thought to go above God, and that the very fact God
He
is trying to
could, but
prevent
he could
that
also
is a
do other
violation of free
scenarios.
will. That literally
And
is a
I'm saying that
violation of
he
free
could have
will.
thought of a scenario that doesn't violate someone's free will. And when I mean violates, I'm talking about the total destruction of their free will. Because that seems to be what the premise is that when I'm having conversations with people, they either idealize someone with the ability to choose between pancakes and waffles or robots that will only go for pancakes, even if it's considered to be the wrong decision. Okay? So what I'd say is, despite the fact that somebody has been coerced or been talked to, and now decides to go through the path of righteousness and good and greatness for all of humanity, um, would therefore be the better scenario because of the less amount of suffering. Because suffering is objectively bad. But you
I don't
think
think you can say
that
that.
God doing
Um,
that? No, you agreed earlier. You said that
I would
suffering
agree
is
suffering
bad.
is objectively bad, but I don't think you can like make that your
Suffering
argument
is
for why God
objectively
doesn't
bad.
exist. Like if God doesn't
Sin,
exist. But before we get
each
into the weeds of that,
each
though,
commit each
I already said
commandment has
earlier.
to do with a point of suffering, where they are considered to be the ways to maximize suffering within a course of life.
Again, like I said earlier, I think maybe you didn't catch it. I'm saying that if we're assuming Satan does have free will, whenever Satan is about to go away, God does not like, and God tries to steer him a different way, that by definition means Satan does not have free will. So, like, the entire scenario has a logical contradiction within it.
No,
Because
I
it
don't see how
doesn't
that
respect.
follows. But repeat that
Again,
again, then.
someone who has free
Repeat
will
that.
is able to take choices of their own. Like Satan being able to freely desire to be above God, right? If Satan has free will, he should be able to do that. But according to you, he has free will while simultaneously, whenever he is about to do something that is not actualized, God doesn't like, he makes it an impossible thing. That's not free will. When God prevents a possible action before it happens, that is not free will. So the idea Satan even has free will within the scenario is itself a logical contradiction.
The free will is not completely being violated, though.
It
The
is.
pathway just being one pathway being decided doesn't mean that the rest of the pathways are also going to be decided. It will just mean that one of them will
I'm not talking about the rest
just
of
be
pathways.
changed so that the betterment of all is put in. The betterment for the angels not being coerced to
I
become
understand.
demons and becoming fallen
That one
angels
matters.
to Can I
I'm not
please
talking about the
speak?
rest.
Can I please speak? The
Go ahead.
betterment for all is what matters, not the idea that someone's free will temporarily for one decision will be changed. This decision will be so minuscule, will be so small that it would just be a new story that will only go through the path of goodness and righteousness, which should be the one that everyone would want to choose. For some reason, though, that is not what happens. Instead, everybody is suffering. Everybody back then is suffering. They get cancer, they get disease, they get put under a tree log and starve to death. They get frozen to death in the harsh colds of the north,
Oh my.
or get strokes and heat deaths, and these heat waves just constantly destroying
Again,
crops.
you're making
For
a huge
instance,
like again.
the pigs, the animals, all being massacred
Come
by
on, keep
pain and
going.
suffering, which could have easily been
Get
prevented
them
through
emotions
one
out.
simple decision. If someone's free will temporarily, for a small time,
That's
will be
funny.
violated, the idea
Again,
that
that would
you
basically
want that
contradict
one
free
person
will.
to be able, it doesn't, because the
Yes, it does.
contradiction
You're presupposing free
of
will.
someone's free will only has to happen all the time, where their
Dude,
decision in
free
life
will is
is
free will.
completely decided.
Deny it. Free will is literally the ability to freely choose, to freely will. If God will not allow somebody to freely will some certain things, they do not have free will.
Free will in and of itself
It's not
completely is not
JLS. Don't
destroyed.
kick him.
Do you agree?
Hold on. Let me kick it. Let him kick him.
Wait, don't kick JLS.
I kick Shinzo.
Okay.
It's
I'm saying this. Okay, I'm kicking Logan as well. I'm actually gonna block him.
And
The very
ET.
Oh no,
free
not
will.
Logan. Wait,
Hold on.
wait.
Free will is the ability to to will freely.
Oh.
And if whenever Satan is about to freely will,
Told you.
It was
and
ET.
he is prevented from that, that means Satan is not able to freely will, which means he does not have free will. So either it's possible Satan does not have free will, or he does. If he does, which we've already agreed, this argument is invalid.
I think you're misunderstanding the point I've made now 5 times, which is that
I know
free
what you're trying to
will
say
has
is
to be
one
completely
action.
destroyed. Can I please speak?
It doesn't have to be completely destroyed.
Can I please speak?
Even if it's inherently
Can I please speak?
violated in any way, it is not free will.
Can I please speak?
Quantity does not matter. If it's in any way violated, it's not free will. Go ahead.
in any way being violated, so the complete destruction doesn't matter. It only matters if one decision is just
It's
chosen.
not quantity, bro.
It's just one decision which makes
Yes, one
everything
decision.
suddenly super bad
It's
for
not
someone's
quantity,
entire
it's
life.
quality.
It's a rule. Free will is free insofar as a person can will freely. If a person went about to potentially will freely without any external force, is then stopped from that, they do not have free will. So either your scenario is incoherent in
still
which Satan
do.
has free will.
They still
No,
have free will
how
afterwards.
does he have free will if he's not able to free will free? I mean,
He's
sorry,
only
free,
doing. It's
free
only
will.
one thing though
Free
that's
will,
being
not
that's
willy.
being chosen
Bro, I just
for
pulled the
someone.
trigger once. Why are there all these consequences? I mean,
Because you
I'm
don't
so sorry. I'm so
understand the
sorry for
Bible,
talking, but like,
dude.
I'm
Can I
so
say
bored
something,
of this. Like, this is so illogical.
Can I say something? Is that okay?
What? Fine.
Okay. So, why do you not believe that God exists? That's my question.
I believe God exists. I don't think you
Oh,
understand the
then
topic.
who's the one that doesn't believe in God?
Well, this isn't your
Doesn't-
discussion,
I'm
so
right here.
don't just jump in. You're
But
not
I'm
going to be
currently
He's
the
right
one
there,
debating.
but
If you
he's
want to
right
do
there,
that,
but
open
now-
up your own
in.
room.
Bro,
No,
this is a
open up
public
your
you
room.
do want to. I guess you want to say something about this conversation. Go ahead. Even
No, I mean, there were just so many points that were just very. I mean, it could be summed up very, very, very fast. I mean, you made the clear, obvious point of free will. You have to be able to make a decision, and then he went from, well, it's not about it's one decision and suffering. We're completely forgetting the passage where God says that He will make whatever suffering, He will make a greater reward out of it than what was before. So by His nature, even of course, it fits that if there is free will and someone chooses suffering, a consequence by His nature is